Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Harmony webinar series. It's my pleasure today to introduce Carol O'Dowd, who is the President and Executive Director for the Colorado Association of Psychotherapists and also private practice clinician. She'll be sharing more with you about her background in a little bit. We thought for the beginning of 2018 it would be great for us to launch the new year with a workshop on a new view for a new year, recovery in Buddhism. And so I know many of you are very excited about hearing this workshop. It's very unique. I had the pleasure of meeting Carol late last year, and as she and I were talking, her background is I think very exciting and very unique, and certainly something that I think many of you will very much enjoy. As we move through the presentation today, it'll be important for people to feel free to ask questions. If they have questions, they can type them into the box on the right, and I'll be facilitating those questions. I believe Carol indicated to me that she would be happy to take questions halfway through and then again at the end. Just for those of you that are new to Harmony and are not familiar with who we are, Harmony is nestled on 43 acres of land at the base of Rocky Mountain National Park, right outside of Estes Park, Colorado. We are a residential facility that offers comprehensive treatment for adults and their families. And who is Harmony? Harmony believes that long-term recovery from alcohol and other drugs is possible. This is our why factor. How do we do this? We believe that we're a place between two worlds. Our location in the Rockies provides a safe and quiet respite from the pain of addiction. With over 40 years of treating addiction, we have fostered a generation of long-term recovery who supports our clients and families for a lifetime. Harmony staff at all levels of the organization work together to create a community of recovery support that is long-lasting. And who are we? We are a residential program. We offer a full continuum of care beginning at detox all the way through transitional living. And as I mentioned earlier, we are located at the base of Rocky Mountain National Park in Estes Park. We offer evidence-based 12-step programming that is gender responsive. And if you're interested in learning more about Harmony and who we are, we invite you to visit us at www.harmonyfoundationinc.com. Or if you know someone that is interested in seeking residential treatment, feel free to give us a call at 866-686-7867. For those of you that are interested in seeking continuing education, you will receive an evaluation at the end of the webinar. We ask that you please complete that online evaluation. We will send your certificate to you by mail. If you don't receive the evaluation, please email Christy Weeks. I'm also going to provide you with another email. I'll give you my email as well, which is gthorn@harmonyfoundationinc.com. We ask that you please, Christy or I will get back with you right away, but we know that sometimes technology can be a little fussy, and so we do need you to complete that evaluation form, and we will get you your certificate. This workshop is approved for 1 NADAC hour. So it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Carol O'Dowd. Carol combines Western and Eastern approaches in her psychotherapy to support others on the journey through transition. She blends her 20 years of training and experience in public administration as a former city manager and community development consultant with her 10 years of spiritual training as an ordained Buddhist priest. She supplemented her education with certifications in Japanese psychology, mindfulness, and gardening. Carol served as a volunteer for half a year in the, I'm going to not say this correctly, but she'll correct me, I'm sure, Kirikobakan prison. Carol's online, she'll be able to correct me. Thank you. In Indonesia, providing counseling and opening up a Buddhist temple. Her workshops and retreats in the United States, Thailand, and Indonesia consistently result in participants taking techniques back to work and or home. And at this point, I'm going to transition the presentation over to Carol, and we will take questions throughout. So turning it over to you, Carol.
Thank you very much. And yes, the word is Krohan. And you can look that up in the on the internet. There have been stories about that particular prison, but I was really honored there because it helped me engage more deeply in my practice. So with that, I'll just start because this first slide in front of you says, when does the new year start? It starts now.
Carol, let me just interject for 1 second.
Yes.
Can you click on your screen to show your screen?
Oh, sorry. Show Muted. All right, hang on. Sharing screen. I'm not paying. Is that it? Did that do it?
It's saying waiting to view.
Oh.
Having slight technical difficulties. Give us one. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, and then get that box off of my screen. Okay.
And now we're good. We can see you.
Okay, so I'm starting again, which is perfect because the answer to the question of when does the new year start, it starts now, and now, and now. What's wonderful about this particular view of is it's a great fit with recovery because we're always starting. In each moment, we get a fresh start. Um, and it's a way to shift our attention to what's in front of us now, not the past or bringing up and clinging to old moments, but focusing really on starting new. Another way to think about it is that you can't really start unless you stop. Think about running. If you're running someplace, well, you can't start running unless you actually stop. And that's what reflection is about. The practice I'd like to share is a Buddhist-inspired practice called Naikan, and that is not a camera. It is Naikan, and it is a reflection practice that gives you that wonderful opportunity to stop and start anew. So let's see. I think I'll go to the next slide. There. Okay. So the individual that shared this particular practice, his name is Isshin Yoshimoto. Uh, he was a Shin Buddhist, and that's the Buddhism that I share. It's a Pure Land practice. For those of you who are familiar with Buddhism, it's a Mahayana form of Buddhism. It is a practice that is grounded in trusting or accepting. And you can see on the screen there that Namo Amidabutsu is the way you say that. It was frequently, and even in some retreats that I've gone to on with Tibetan Buddhists, this form of Buddhism is viewed as householder Buddhism, partly because it doesn't require meditation. You don't have to go anywhere. The founder of this particular tradition created a Buddhist practice that was for everybody, anywhere, anytime. The average Japanese at the time was an illiterate rice farmer. So the practice was this simple Namo Amidabutsu, picking up a rice seed, saying Namo Amidabutsu, putting the rice seed down, and doing that for almost 12 hours a day. So I laugh sometimes when people say it's not meditation. I don't know what else would be. But this Namo Amidabutsu is entrusting. That's the Namo, I entrust. And the Amida is a combination of two Sanskrit terms, Amitabha and Amiteya, which means and refers to infinite light and infinite life. The Butsu is not referring to the historical Buddha. Instead, this Butsu refers to the ultimate awakened state. So what we're doing when saying Namo Amidabutsu is saying, I entrust, or just entrusting in, leaning in upon the ultimate reality of infinite light and life. In Buddhism, light is manifested by compassion, and light is manifested by wisdom, and life is manifested by compassion. So in essence, what we're doing is entrusting that there is compassion, wisdom in the world at all times. And if we entrust with our heart mind, we can easily connect to it and be a part of it. Why does that not? Let me go to the next. Here we go. So, what this practice is about is accepting what is and connecting with the wisdom, compassion that's flowing in the world at all times. To be able to do that means that this isn't a practice of judgment. It's not making decisions about good, bad. It's a practice of noticing what is. It's connecting to all of life and accepting what is as is. Now, it's not the Western view. A Western view would be accepting what is as it is. The Asian view is that what is cannot be put in some kind of concrete form. It's always moving. That's what life is. It's movement. It's change, constantly. So that's why we have to listen very carefully and notice how we want to act and where we want to place our attention. In other words, what this accepting is about, or entrusting, also includes you and me. It's very, very important to accept self as we are, knowing that, yeah, if we make a mistake, if we relapse, no problem. We can start over. What I love about Buddhism, to get up every day and do-overs are okay. And I found a poem by Rumi that to me sort of describes this state of being human as a process, not as a thing or an object, but a process. What he says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrow who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent the guide from beyond. What we're talking about here, what Rumi so beautifully describes, is that each experience is an opportunity to learn. All aspects of life, all aspects of ourself can be worked with. It's not about judging or condemning what we have done or didn't do. It's just working with, yep, just as that saying says, what is, as is, because we're constantly changing. You stop to think about it, none of us connected to this webinar are who we were when we were 3. That body's been gone for a long time. We are who we are now. So each experience is an opportunity to embrace and connect with fully all of life, the wisdom and the compassion that exists in lessons learned. I like to think of it, there's a wonderful Buddhist story about a Buddhist monk who lived on a mountain, and he was doing his very serious retreat, similar to the Nishirabe that Isshin Yoshimoto went through, where you just sit in a cave and contemplate and do your meditation. You can do analytical meditation and ask questions. And this monk had gone out of his cave and was collected wood and came back in to build his fire. And when he arrived at the cave, he realized there were was filled with demons, really ugly, big demons. He set down the wood and he went inside and he went up to the one that had the biggest mouth and he stuck his head in the mouth of this demon and asked the question, "What do you have to teach me?" The demon, in some ways, is those horrible situations we get ourselves into. We don't know what to do. And instead of flailing or crying out, we can stop and ask, "What do you have to teach me?" So it's using each experience as an opportunity to learn. And that if you find a monster, ask it, "What do you have to teach me?" That's the practice of accepting the highs and lows of our life as teachers. After all, how do we learn patience? We certainly don't learn it from those wonderful people who do everything for us. We learn it from the jerks who make us wait a long, long time for something. So this practice of going back and being grateful is what this practice is about. But it's grateful isn't something you can fake. It's not. Okay, I'm going to try. Apparently, some of you are having trouble hearing me, so I'm going to see if I can use my phone without the speaker. I'll see what happens here. Is that on?
Yes, that's better, Carol. Thank you.
Okay. So it's taking a new view of our troubles. That's the practice that we're going to be exercising here today in a little bit. It's realizing that even our emotions, the ones that we sometimes label as negative and pull us down, can also be messengers, teachers, if you will. What I find oftentimes when I sit sometimes with my anger, when I look real closely, underneath the anger is fear, and I'm projecting onto others my fear. But it's much easier to be angry at them. So what I'm talking about is how people, even events, can be mirrors to help us better see ourselves. So what this practice is about, certainly what Buddhism encourages us to do, is to take a wider view. And it's as important not to judge our own past and habitual patterns as it is to not judge and put others inside a box. So if we aren't going to put others inside a box, why would we put ourselves and limit ourselves with that kind of view? What we're talking about is expanding our view, opening up, joining with all of those who make us us. And sometimes it's the difficult people in our lives that push us just enough to grow and end up being even a better person. Now, what I'm about to read to you is the lanyard, and this is a reflection exercise from someone who's actually gone through the Nikon exercise. And what Nikon as a Buddhist practice was, like I said, sitting for, and I have done this, it's like a 14-day exercise, and you sit behind a screen and you really contemplate either key people in your life. And this is a reflection on this man's mother. So he begins with, "The other day I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor. when I found the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly. A past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one, if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloth on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me how to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said. Here is clothing and an education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift, not the one truth that you can repay your mother, but the rueful omission that when she took the two-tone lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. I think what the practice of Nikon does is open our hearts to realize that life is not fair, and thank heavens it is not, because we can never repay all those beings who have given us much in our life. As Greg Creech, my teacher, has shared, is Nikon is the practice of looking inward, and it's seeing oneself with the mind's eye. And it's a practice of going beyond the boundaries that you might think exist at the tips of your fingers. But this looking inward is realizing that our ancestors are with us. If you have a favorite relative, a grandmother or a grandfather or someone else, our ancestors flow with us. They're in our genes. We cannot run from them. The trick is to listen carefully and hear messages that can help us and that we can use to move forward. Now, how we do that is taking usually 20 to 40 minutes for a period of reflection. At least that's what's taught in this particular tradition. For a webinar, what we'll do is just use the remaining 15 minutes to do this exercise. So what Nikon asks us to do is to engage in reflection using 3 simple questions. You spend the same amount of time on the first 2 and twice as much on the third question. And again, what I want you to do is realize that this is a reflection exercise. It's not writing the whole time. So you'll take, what we'll do is we'll use 3 minutes for the first question, then 3 minutes for the second question, and 6 minutes for the third question, just to give you a feel for how this exercise works. Now, when you use these questions, you can use it on a person. As the traditional Nikon retreat, you start out with the people important in your life. You can use a talent that you have, and you can also use a period of time. What I'm going to suggest is let's use the prior day. So when you answer these questions, what you're going to be doing is being specific. You want to be able to, if not measure it, at least know that it happened. So think of experiences that involve the senses. So you don't say, I received love or I received help. It's, what did that look like? So yesterday, I received love because I received a smile from my grandson when I walked into his home. So I can actually put down a smile. That's not something I necessarily have, but I can see it and evaluate it. I received coaching from a counselor on how to use a particular type of horticultural therapy. Hopefully that gives you enough information. What we're talking about is being very specific. And so it's what I received and who it was from. So what we'll do is we'll start now, and we'll take, I encourage you to spend 3 minutes. And again, what you can do is make notes. This doesn't have to be a whole sentence. This is your reflection. This is your looking inward. So what you do is you put it down on a piece of paper. I keep a little journal, and it's just enough so that when you pick it back up, you can look at it. The reason why you record it is over time, especially if you do this for several weeks in a row, you'll begin to see patterns. But they're your patterns. You are the expert on your life and what you want to work on. And as you see patterns, you may see things that you want to change, or, this is the fun part, things that you may want to explore. So let's take 3 minutes and answer the question. Yesterday, what I received was and from. Okay, so you can, again, take some time in the morning or in the evening to answer this question and just note some things. And again, it can be something very specific. A big one for me yesterday was removal of some growing cancer cells by Dr. Stan. And he was so excited because he thought they were all gone. But I was very grateful to have those done. The other was a smile for my granddaughter and picking her up at school. And I also received some wonderful bananas from King Soopers. Now, again, that one is an example of how sometimes these things overlap. So I received bananas from King Soopers, but I gave King Soopers money for those bananas. So what you will see in doing this next question, you're going to be doing the exact same thing, but don't worry, sometimes they overlap, and that's back to, again, the great teaching and beginning to observe some of the interconnectedness that happens in life. So we'll do this next question, 3 minutes, and what I gave was, and again, be specific. Make sure it's something that you can not necessarily measure in specific inches or some other measurement, but that you can describe it to someone else. Most importantly, you can describe it to yourself and know that's what you gave. So the example I have is I gave my granddaughter yesterday an ice cream cone. So again, it's what I gave and to whom. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. I certainly gave my cat, Mr. Juliet, cat food. I gave my orchids water. So it's just being specific, because this is how we can see patterns. So we'll try 3 minutes on this question. And again, you don't have to write the entire time. You can just lean back, relax, and contemplate. What did I give? So Jean has brought up an interesting point, because you can actually use this as part of your own reflection if you are working with clients, because frequently, I mean, one of the things that I received yesterday was a hug of appreciation from MR, I'll just use initials, for a highly productive session for her. Another one that I gave, and so what you then write down is something that you give is, gee, I gave time to CB, whatever the client, because you give your time, you give your presence to your clients. So it's continuing that practice. So the third question is the challenging one. The third one is one that is, it requires attention, because it's not about being judgmental. It's literally just being aware of difficulties caused. So sometimes we cause difficulties, and they may be appropriate, especially children who want candy just before dinner, or being, oh, I've got it in here. I added pollution when I got in my car and drove to the grocery store. So it's just, this is why there's more time for this question. It's taking the time to just reflect. What difficulties did I cause, intentional or not? And this is where you end up truly increasing some awareness of, gee, maybe I caused difficulties. Certainly all of us do in driving, right? Sometimes we can't make the turn and the person behind us wants us out of the way. So it's just looking through the day and maybe looking back, and this is where this reflection time allows us to see things sometimes with a new light. So again, what you want to do, as you can see over here on the side, is the difficulties I caused a person or another spiritual being of some kind. I certainly caused my cat difficulties because I was late in getting him food when he obviously was hungry. So I can realize when I create some difficulties. Again, it can be intentional or not. I shoveled the walk, but it left a film and it caused some people to slip a bit, the walkway in front of my office. So I had the great intention of getting it all off, thinking that would be helpful, but in some ways, because of that sudden freeze, it made things difficult. So again, it's just a matter of being aware and noticing. So let's take 6 minutes, and we'll take maybe 4 minutes, given that we're running out of time. If anybody has any questions, please pass those on to Gina. Okay, because we are running out of time, I didn't realize. This is that last question sometimes takes a little bit more reflection time. And again, it's a classic example of why you don't write the whole time. You take the time to truly think and reflect. Sometimes you can cause difficulties without intention. I certainly caused my granddaughter some difficulty yesterday. I arrived late for picking her up and she had to wait. The difficulty I caused her is the school doesn't allow them to wait inside and she had to wait outside in the cold. What does these 3 questions do? Doing this on a fairly regular basis, you can set aside some time in the morning, in the evening. You can pick 2-3 days a week you want to do this. It helps reconstruct your reality. It allows you to, what I call re-story sometimes, by allowing a new view to come in, awareness, an aha to happen. It also helps explain sort of the Buddhist teaching that giving and receiving sometimes are the same thing. That is the practice of generosity. That giving and receiving truly can overlap. I know with my grandchildren are certainly reteaching me this lesson greatly, because I may give them some toy or thing that they want, but the big smile and laughter is worth so much. I don't even think that I'm giving. All I'm doing is getting. It also is an opportunity to help us shift our focus, to be aware of how we may cause troubles unknowingly at different times. And if you want more information on this, you can go to the Toto Institute. Greg Creech established the Nikon Center here in the United States. And there is a couple of books, I just listed 2 on this. I will see if anybody has any questions.
I'm not seeing any questions at this point, but I do
Okay.
have a question,
Yes.
Carol, in regards to the nature of gratitude. There's been a lot of research done around the value of gratitude as it relates to almost remapping the brain away from
Yep.
the consistent negativity that people
Yep.
have. And so
Yes.
it feels as if this Nikon approach has a lot of similarities to not just writing down, a gratitude list, because I hear a lot about just writing down a gratitude list of those things you're grateful for so that you're not constantly looking towards negative. Is there a lot of similarities to that in this approach?
Well, this approach it builds on that teaching and assumption, because basically the science is verifying that taking the time to reflect on what I gave, what I received, and difficulties that I caused actually allows gratefulness to arise. That then rewires the brain. And that's why this practice is encouraged, that you do it on some kind of a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. And then how is it applied in working in the field of addiction treatment, and specifically working with clients and patients who are struggling with this idea of some of the shame that they feel around difficulties that they've caused to others?
Well, this is an opportunity for them to actually focus on what they give and what they receive. Because then there's opportunities, and what I've done with it can be used in a group setting as well, of allowing people to share what they gave others. Because sometimes, especially people coming out of recovery, I didn't give anything. As a matter of fact, a interesting experience I had working with some folks in a prison setting. This man was saying, "Oh, I don't give anything. I gave nothing," and the gentleman behind him was, "That's not true. you gave me soup yesterday. So sometimes using it in a way to allow people to interact and do it with each other, with a partner, helps them see what they do give. And it's also important then to have in settings like that a teacher, because it's not taking the difficulties. Like I said, that's not a judgment game, and it's not asked so that people go down a path of I'm a horrible person. It's more a matter of increasing awareness so that they can use it as a teacher.
Thank you. That's helpful. I don't see, there was a question about the slides being made available by Cindy Rosa, and so we will make the slides available. We're actually recording the webinar, so we'll be happy to send the recording out to all participants.
Okay, and this, I'm sorry for being so new to all this. So we have used up the whole time?
You still have 10 more minutes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was done for. Okay, well then what I can do is share a bit more about the question on being able to use it in daily life. And again, this business of that third question can cause people difficulties. The rationale behind this is that when problems arise, we aren't, or thoughts about difficulties that it would cause, it's not to become self-centered and saying that I'm a bad person or that I have to have it my way. It's using this as a way to create a gap, if you will, just a moment in time where we can sit back and say, gee, what difficulty did I cause? Like I said, cat, dog, friend, mother, father. It's going inside so that we are almost looking outside. It's looking at the connection that we have. And yes, do we make mistakes? You betcha. That's a reminder that we're human. But we have an opportunity then, because of this reflection, and being human, we are a process, so we can move forward and do things differently. Will we still make mistakes? Yes. But gee, life isn't fair. There's so much coming at us. We can still be grateful for what we do have. The challenge is to shift it so that, as the scientists talk about the wiring, that the wiring helps us shift our focus to, oh, what do we want to be grateful for? I actually had some prisoners when I was teaching this in Kovokan. They began looking for opportunities to help other prisoners. And one very touching, because Kovokan's a pretty tough place. Several of the prisoners started saying, I gave safety because I stood watch so that my friend could sit in quiet and read a book without worrying about who was coming up. So there's all kinds of ways to give back if we take the time to notice what are we giving, what are we receiving, and when, even when we don't mean to, we might create a difficulty for someone, whether human, animal, or plant. And I am deeply grateful for the opportunity to have this interaction with you, and hopefully this has been helpful to those online.
Thank you so much, Carol. This was great. Do you want to forward through a couple more slides so folks can get access to your contact information?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let's see here. Yes, feel free to give me a call as well as just send me an email.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a great opportunity to learn about the Nikon approach. I'd never heard of it before, and I'm sure others haven't either. So it seems like a great opportunity to embed it into a mindfulness practice, as well as into looking at gratitude and reshifting vision and perspective. For those of you that are still connected, we just want to remind you that the slide deck will be made available. We are going to have this as a recording that will be made available, and then certificates will be mailed out. We're hoping by Friday, but if not, as soon as early next week. And please stay tuned for our next webinar next month, which is scheduled for February the 21st. And I'm sorry, February the 28th. And we have Jolene Park, who will be presenting on functional nutrition and recovery. So thank you again, Carol, for your time. And we wish all of you a wonderful day today. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina?